What is up, guys? We're finally back with this $50 budget Volvo right here. In this video, we're gonna change some bushings in the front of the car so that it'll be a bit stiffer, stiffen up the front end a little bit. Because as you're gonna see later in the video, they are completely shot. And we're also gonna give the car a quick maintenance wash because as you can see, it's gotten pretty filthy from just sitting around basically. So it's mostly superficial dirt that's on the layer, but it still need a clean wash and some shampooing. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to it. So the first step is obviously raise the car up in the air, or at least the front end up in the air, and then remove the front wheels. Speaking of the wheels, I decided to run without the hubcaps during the winter and with the hubcaps when I'm changing to the summer tires. That's probably what most of you suggested anyways, and that's what I think is a good idea. So these are the bushings right here that we're gonna replace. There's one on each side, one in from the back, and one in the front. So first you remove that 15mm bolt in the front. I tried various methods of getting this bushing out. Most of them failed. What I ended up doing was just removing all the rubber material from the bushing. Because what had happened was that the seat where the rubber bushing mounts had rusted so much that it squeezed the bushing together really hard, and it was stuck that way. Also, that metal collar, the metal ring there of the bushing itself was also stuck to the axle. So I removed all the rubber material by hand, and then I could finally get a grip on this metal sleeve right here and wiggle it out. And then it's a matter of removing that Torx E18 bolt there and a 22mm nut on the other side to remove the control arm from its rear mount. Usually I don't like to hit on a bolt with a hammer, but in this case I didn't have much of a choice, but the threads were still fine, as we're gonna see later in the video. And then I just hammer out and remove this arm right here. And I suggest you clean off all the areas and all of the mating surfaces that the bushings are going to mount on. As you can see here, the old versus the new bushing, it's a pretty big difference right there. So it was definitely time for replacement. And as you can see here, the front seat where the bushing goes is super crusty. And I find that the best way to remove all this thick rust is with an air hammer. Actually, that works really well. Also, there's a metal sleeve right there in the back that you can remove from the front with that air hammer. And then the bushing goes on first on the back side, and I use some silicone grease on the mating surfaces. One, to prevent further rusting, and two, to prevent any squeaking noises, but mostly to prevent the rusting, of course. Then the front bushing goes on, and I use a bit of Loctite, as you can see. And then I start to tighten this bolt in the front. That's an 18mm head bolt that was included in the kit. And as you can see, as we are tightening the front bolt, the bushings are squeezed together and the bolt hole in the rear starts to line up in the chassis. And then I can fit the bolt in the rear right there. and then I start to torque it down, but I don't torque it completely, because whenever you have a twisting force applied on a bushing, it's usually recommended that you do the final torquing when the car sits on the ground, when it's in its natural resting place. But the front bolt right there you can torque down right now, and that gets torqued to 95 Newton meters. It was pretty hard to get on a torque wrench while it was on the ground, but fortunately I had a torque bar right here that's rated to 135 Newton meters, and the official torque on this rear M14 bolt is 140 Newton meters. So that's basically almost the same. It's within the ballpark, so I just used that. And then it's time to move on to the maintenance wash. This is actually the first maintenance wash after the last video you saw with this Volvo, the full detail video. And for those of you who've been wondering where this project sits right now, well, the car actually drives perfectly fine. It's actually in pretty good condition. I drive it from time to time, not so often though. It's not my daily driver, but I take it from time to time and it runs great. There's really nothing to complain about. There's a few maintenance things. You can replace worn out bushings, as I did in this video, and I'm also going to be changing out the transmission and the rear axle oil in a future video, and little stuff like that, fuel filters here and there. Yeah, the car runs actually pretty good as it is right now, for those of you who are wondering. As you can see, it's still pretty hydrophobic. Then it's time for the washing stage, or the shampooing stage, and I'm trying out this shampoo from this new Swedish company called Purist. I'm gonna do a full video review on their lineup in a future video. So I just fill up my foam cannon with some car shampoo, mix it with a little bit of water, and then I'm gonna foam the entire car down. Usually I will do a more thorough pre-wash, but as I said earlier in the video, most of the dirt on this car is very superficial, so you can get away with this quick maintenance method of just rinsing it down, covering it with some foam, and go over with a microfiber mitt. And of course I'm going to be using the 2-bucket system, where one is the rinse bucket and one is the shampoo bucket. And I can tell you, compared to the last time I did a wash on this car, it's a breeze this time, because, well, as I said, the dirt was just on the very layer of the car. It wasn't ingrained or anything, so it cleaned out really good. And after shampooing the entire car, obviously it's time to rinse all the suds off. I was trying out this spray wax that was randomly just sent out to me. So I tried it on both a wet surface and a dry surface. And yeah, I know this microfiber towel is on its last days. I probably need to throw it out and replace it with a new one. I actually preferred to apply it on a dry surface, and as you can see, with a new better microfiber towel. that method seemed to work better for this spray wax. I also used it to dress up the door jambs while they're wet to both dry and offer them a little bit of protection at the same time. You'll have to forgive me for this one for taking a huge shortcut in cleaning out the rims. Usually I'll do really thorough decon and shampooing on the rims if they're really dirty, but these weren't so dirty to begin with, and let's face it, they're old pair of steel rims, so I just sprayed a microfiber towel with that spray wax and wiped them clean. They actually turned out good that way. And the tire sides are given some love with CarPro Pearl, diluted 50-50 with water. That's usually what I go with the tire walls. The front and rear bumper were also given a treatment with CarPro Pearl, but this time diluted 1:3. I think that gives a better sheen when it comes to bumpers and exterior plastic trim. And that brings us to an end of this video. So I will see you next time. You guys take care, and I will head on out with my freshly cleaned Volvo 740.